Good afternoon. Welcome to our Juneteenth Community Picnic. I'm Leslie Shaver. I'm president of the Historical Society. Want to just give a quick note to our sponsors and thank them for supporting us. Our first sponsor was Late Model Auto Parts and Steve Shaver. Also, we have Central Bank and Sure Grove, Keith Clemens. We also have DeFreeze Real Estate, Laurel DeFreeze, Edward Jones, Jordan Roth, Bank of Plattsburg, FCC Enterprises, High Class Foods. The man responsible for our sound system is John Enderly. Thanks so much, John. And one lady that worked really hard on a lot of our food was Clyde May, and you're gonna taste some really good greens today. We have Marcia Oley, she's going to be doing some of our games. She's our great treasurer, is what she is. We also have Plattsburg Floral sponsored us. Price Chopper Kevin Norris. He gave us a couple cakes and a lot of water. It's over there in the coolers if you get a little parched, because it is hot. We also have, so we're having cornbread today, and we got some Chateau honey butter. How about that? I also want to thank Sharon Rick. She helped with the greens and provide bacon for it. We also have TJ McMurray, Terry Linwood, and last but not least, Tracy Pincus, because she's the one working on a lot of the food. Also have a special thanks to our committee and all the others that made the event possible, especially Adam Graham, Charnette Norton, Jean Tillman, Kay May, Mary Jo Day, Tracy Pincus, Terry and Linwood, Tanya Rowland. And last but not least, our master of ceremonies, Clyde May.
Say good evening, everyone. We're here today to have the celebration, the first annual celebration of the Juneteenth program. And we hope that this goes well and we'll be able to continue this on. So, I'll read a little bit about the Juneteenth program, what it's about. Juneteenth Celebration is a celebration. Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commending the ending of slavery in the United States, dating back to 1865. It was on June 19th that the Union soldiers landed at Galveston, Texas, with the news that the war had ended and the enslaved were now free. Celebrated in June, Juneteenth is a great cultural celebration that takes place in many cities across the nation. In 2021, the U.S. government recognized Juneteenth as a national holiday in efforts to bring awareness of the African American celebration. So, to my knowledge, the celebration began in Galveston, Texas, with now it's a celebration throughout the states. We put together some history of black schools, Tillman's Construction and Barbecue Inn. More Juneteenth history will be given today. Sherman May Sargrim, the May family business, Wilbur May's business, black-owned small grocery stores, and Joe Harris Gym. So this is just a few of the businesses that we've known about in Plattsburg, in this community, and we just wanted to reinnovate what the business has done here and how they started and everything. So our speakers are as follows today. Which is supposed to be Adam Graham, who won't be here, but he did do a video, and we won't be showing that, but she can put it up on Facebook later on. Our first speaker will be Jean Tillman about the construction and barbecue inn. Our second speaker will be Gwen Green, more about the Juneteenth history. Then we'll take a break and eat. After that, I will come back and speak about the May family business. Erik May will speak about Wilbur May's business. LaVell Rucker will speak about the small town grocery stores. and Everett Joe Physical Man Harris will speak about his gym. So we're going to get this started with the history, and I'm going to introduce Mr. Gene Tillman, Plattsburg, Missouri.
Okay, my father went to the service in 1942, got drafted, got out in 45. While he was in the service, he said he figured that when he got out, he wanted to go in construction business. He had worked on that home over there at 16 years old with Mr. Q.A. Johnson, and he liked that kind of work. So when he got out, he got a job with Mr. Q.A. Johnson, and I think he worked with him for probably 4 years, and Mr. Q.A. showed him everything he could show him, how to do, lay the stone and everything. And him and Irvin Harris bought Mr. Q.A. Johnson out in probably 48 or 49, and they started the business. And they worked together for 3 or 4 years. And then the old man bought Irvin out. Irvin became a mechanic, and Daddy carried on the business from 49. And then in 58, he decided he wanted to get a restaurant. So he bought Clyde May's store up there in Martin. And we built on a dining room on the south side of the store, and did remodeling on the inside of it, and he started his barbecue business. And after that, business got pretty good, so he decided he wanted to go to Smithville just before they started on building on the lake. So he went to Smithville and opened up a barbecue place downtown, and he stayed down there, I guess, for probably a year and a half. And his eyes got real bad from diabetes, so he come back to Plattsburg, and he decided that he was going to have to give it up. So me and Cecil Kelly were working with him, and we decided to buy him out on the construction business. So we bought him out, and we worked together for 4 years. Then we both went on our separate ways, and that lasted until I retired in 2012, and that's about all the history I have on this.
All right, thank you, Gene, for that. So our next speaker will be Graham, who will give us more history about the Juneteenth history and some other things.
Welcome, everybody. So glad that we had this big of a turnout, and it's one of the first, it is the first, event that both races are able to come together in unity and make this occasion possible. I've been excited about this ever since I got the first phone call from Mike and Leslie over a picture of my grandfather from World War I, World War II, and then it went on and on. I inherited all of these pictures over the years of, the Burnside family, the May family. I have pictures of other families, the Harrises, and how we're all connected, and it all started in Mecca, Missouri. So, I had to write a lot of stuff down, and let's see, to my amazement,
I'm getting a little emotional. To my amazement, I had photos of family members I knew about, but had no idea how we were connected or the significance of the role or things that they had done in the town of Mecca, Missouri, and the Clinton County community. Starting today, our generations before us and our future generations will be able to walk into this museum, see the Black history section of the family and families and others who fought in the Civil War voluntarily for our freedom. They fought for their freedom as well as ours and the future generations to come. Black men and women fought in wars for future family members to be free from slavery. Learning about the Buffalo Soldiers was the most interesting, and I was amazed at how many there were. I only knew that there were maybe one or two. One of them was Marion Green, who is related to LaVell and, you know, us, all of us. There were others, and it's really neat once you just read about the Buffalo Soldiers themselves and what they did. Let's see. Okay. Knowing that we had people of Mecca, Missouri that became doctors, nurses, writers, farmers, that wrote about their experiences, and our ancestors that made so many sacrifices for us. Ancestors that had small businesses, bought land, built schools and churches, and established 2 cemeteries for our people to lay at rest. Do you know that the first marker for a cemetery in Mecca, Missouri was a tree? In Africa, that's how they buried people. If you weren't burned, you were cremated above ground, like the Indians. A tree was planted, and later on, they used rocks to print your name, your birth date, and your death date. And that's how you went about it before the actual headstones were made. That still remains in Mecca today. And we need to change that. Okay, and the generations after them that had grocery stores, we had the concrete business, the trucking businesses, restaurants, and a park for our children to have in the Black community. When our people and children couldn't come south of Plattsburg to a better equipped park for us to play or go to school. My first day of school was very scary. First grade, I was the only Black in my school, in my classroom. And I had all of these people come to me to want to help me and learn how to, you know, memorize my numbers, write my name, this and that. And it was really, really scary. But yeah, I'm grateful that that happened. It's much better today. Today is a celebration of freedom. Freedom from slavery for all Black communities everywhere. In my younger years growing up, our ancestors called this day basket dinners. Everyone made covered dishes, bought meats, such as fried chicken, ham, made potato salad, corn on the cob, green beans, freshly picked and broken and cooked, desserts, all made by the hands of the women that prepared it. And that's just a few foods that made this event happen. Sometimes it was at Mecca, sometimes it was at the church. I think it was called the Christian Church, which is right there on Ingle Street, which is no longer there. Yeah, we had a lot of fun there. let's see, and sometimes we would have it at my uncle's farm, my great uncle's farm, Roy Bailey. And which we called family reunions. We called him Uncle Jim, but a lot of people knew him as Roy or Jim Bailey. And then his wife, she made the most awesome cakes ever. She was Creole. And she originated from Kentucky, as most of our ancestors originated from during slavery. So there were 192 slaves in Clinton County alone in 1840. There were others in other counties such as DeKalb, Platte, Kay, and Buchanan. And the biggest slave trader in this area was named John Lincoln, but there were others that owned slaves. The cousin of Abraham Lincoln, our president, who was for freedom of the slaves, John Lincoln owned 22 slaves of the 192 in Clinton County. He had a mansion built by these slaves from the clay dirt and the walnut trees on this land. A beautiful place on Springtown Road outside of Plattsburg. This land was owned and it was granted to him by the government on July 12, 1849. Had 170 acres and was used mostly for farm crops such as wheat, corn, hemp, and hay. The value of each slave he owned was $2,900. This mansion was one of the first brick homes built ever. It consisted of 11 rooms, a fireplace in each room. It had rooms built underneath this home where he kept slaves to be auctioned off on his property. They were chained and shackled in his basement in the lower floor of his home. My family used to tell stories of the chains and shackles on the walls when they lived behind the Lincoln home. Okay, it's just tough for me. They used to talk about the shackles and the chains that they saw on the walls and the blood-stained walls and the blood-stained floors. So it kind of makes you wonder how many, of our family members were actually there and beaten and treated in such a way that, that's just a little bit of the history that I found. My grandparents lived there for years after the Lincoln home was vacated and it was taken over by the Movie Brothers, which had cattle. Then Missouri was the beef capital of Missouri, so had a lot of cattle, and my grandfather helped maintain the property as well as live there. At that time, he had like 10 children before they moved to Plattsburg. Let's see. They moved to Plattsburg in the 1950s when the Newby brothers had kind of retired. So B.F. May and Grandma May tell stories about the years they lived there. One being how he was paid $10 a week to feed his family, his wife and 10 children at that time. And they ended up having 16 children altogether. They had to grow their own food. vegetables. They were given a side of beef or pork. Just leftovers the farmers didn't basically want. So they had chickens, of which they raised from chicks. And my grandparents said they ate a lot of chicken. So that's why we're having chicken today. We're having a lot of chicken today. So they killed them and prepared them often to have Sunday dinner, or they prepared it for other people. And I have to tell this story toward the end. They were preparing chickens for their Sunday dinner as well as others one weekend, and 2 of the boys disappeared, and they couldn't find them. So they had to stop preparing the chickens and go look for them. So they found them in the barn, and they had killed all the baby chicks. And those 2 boys were Uncle Albert and Uncle Floyd. They were trying to help out. So, but there is so much history to learn about our ancestors and about Mecca and, you know, just our community in general, black and white. And it's so interesting and so rich that once you get interested in it, you just can't stop. You have to learn more and more and more. And to know that my great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather that had the sorghum mill, Sherman May and Annie May Tate, and had a small business there in Mecca. They said that people came from all around, not just Missouri, but out of state, just to have and taste his sorghum. So I better cut this short or I'll keep going. But welcome, and God bless everyone that came today, and God bless everyone that helped bring this program together. Amen.
Thank you for that. Good history, a lot of good history there. At this time, we're going to take a break. And Ed, are y'all ready? Y'all ready? Huh? I said we're going to eat. Are y'all ready? Are you ready, Leslie? 2 seconds. All right. Well, while she's taking those 2 seconds, can I get Reverend East? Would you come up and bless the food for me?
I can do it right here.
All right.
Thank you for the one that prepared that before a certain time body. Let's eat.
But Austin is going to come and receive his scholarship from the Historical Society so that he can go to college this fall at Rolla. Austin, it's yours. Thank you. Yes, give us a word or two.
Nobody told me I had to speak. Ladies, no, I don't have it. I really enjoyed the prompt. It was. Do you remember exactly what it was?
Yeah, it was
It was past and then it was present.
the past and the present. Why is history important?
So it was 2 page-long essays. One was why is it important to understand history, and why is it important to
Have Plattsburg history.
Have Plattsburg history, kind of a local and then an overall history. And I really enjoyed the prompt because I learned a lot about the history of Plattsburg, and I'd never really delved into that specifically before. And there were a lot of interesting things that happened here, and I learned a lot, and I enjoyed that. That's all I've got.
right, at this time we're going to go back into our program where it's my turn to speak. And I know you're probably tired of hearing me today, but that's okay. So I am going to be talking today about my grandpa's hay hauling business and the rest of the siblings, but I'm going to start out first with my great-grandpa Sherman May's sorghum. And it says, the production of sorghum, or long sweetening as it was more popularly called, became prevalent during the 1860s when the Civil War interrupted the southern flow of sugar. After the war, sorghum became a crop for personal consumption. On the west edge of Mecca was one of the largest sorghum mills in northwest Missouri, operated by Sherman May, a member of one of Mecca's oldest and most respected families. People came from all over the country, even out of state, to buy the finest sorghum ever made. Ora May recalls his father, Sherman, in the business. On cane cutting days, the kids would get out of school, needing 10 or 12 helpers in the process. First, we'd strip it by hand with a big wood paddle that was sharp on both sides, like a corn knife. Then we'd cut it, top it, then haul it to the mill. Sherman had an old blind horse that went around and round to grind the juice out of the cane. When the horse died, the boys took over its job. The juice was collected into a barrel, strained and then cooked in a vat. It would take about 10 gallons of juice to make 1 gallon of sorghum, cooking and stirring for 3 hours. The cane was cooked down until it was thick and golden brown. It would burn easily, scorch easily, so you had to keep stirring it until you got it where you wanted it before cooling. Sherman had 3 types of sorghum: stiff, medium, and thin. It was the best sorghum in 100 miles. His wife Anna also made biscuits that they sold with the fresh sorghum. Sorghum weighs 11 pounds per gallon. Weighing each container in the beginning, Sherman sold his sorghum for 75 cents per gallon. In later years, he could get up to $2.50 a gallon. It's the history of the Clinton County, Missouri, 1977 by the Clinton County Bicentennial Committee, the Smithfield Lake Historical Resource Mitigation Program, oral history by Craig and Ruthie Sturvey. So, great-grandpa Sherman had, I think it was 8 kids, I think. And it was Sherman May and Anna Tate May. And it was Uncle J. May, whose real name we called was John George, but we all knew him as Uncle J. Then there was Aunt Julia. There was Aunt Ruby. There was Aunt Beulah. There was Uncle Russ, Uncle Benjamin, Uncle Howard, and Uncle Sherman May Jr., which we called Uncle SC, and Uncle R.D. Now all these guys, they were good businessmen. They had good deals, good heads on them about business. And when Grandpa, when he came, well, he used to work for the Newby brothers, Ralph, Charles, and Jake. And after they retired and the business shut down, Grandpa went into hay hauling business. And not only Grandpa did that, but Uncle D did it, and so did Uncle Howard. And Uncle Howard also had a junkyard out there where he lived at, which was out on this road straight out this way. But in the hay hauling business, we would get together. Grandpa would get all the young guys from town after school. We would go out, learn how to haul hay, which was a dirty, sweaty job. And we didn't get paid much. They only paid us probably starting out, you probably got paid 3 cents a bale. And but it was something for us to do, and it taught us work ethics. So in big jobs that they would always have, they would all team up together and go do those jobs. But we hauled hay for a lot of people here in Plattsburg. We hauled hay for the Shavers, the Nortons, the Jinglebucks, the Shoemakers, Miss Moss, we hauled hay for her. It was several others in this community that they hauled hay for. And we even hauled hay for a guy over in Edgerton named Matney. And we went places. We went to work every day. And the best thing I can remember about it was that Grandpa had partially blind eyes, but he would get up on that truck and work with the best of us anytime, any day, and didn't care what the heat was like. And we used to go back and forth about, Grandpa liked to be on the truck to stack because he couldn't walk the field like the rest of us. And we would always worry about, you know, you get hay bales and stuff and you get snakes in them. And Grandpa never worried about that. And we were stacking hay one day and I was on the truck with him. And a bale of hay came up, had a snake in it. And how he did it, I never know today. But he just grabbed that snake and popped it and popped his neck off and went on working. Like it wasn't nothing. And me, I was ready to leave the truck. And snakes, I don't get along with snakes or mice. But we had, they gave us jobs, they gave the young men jobs in town during the summer to help us pay for our school clothes at the fall. And back then, we didn't have Nikes and all that stuff. We had Payless, JCPenney's, Sears and Roebuck catalog, you know, TJ Maxx, all those. And, you know, we couldn't get a pair of shoes every week. You know, Buster Brown was the best shoe there was in town. But you could wear those forever. But Grandpa and Uncle D and them always provided jobs in the summertime for the younger people, for the younger guys. And we had a good time doing it. And after that, well, most of the time when we hauled hay, the boys, after Grandpa and them got older and retired, the sons would take over, which all of Grandpa's sons, at one time or another, drove a hay truck. And Uncle D had his son, Howard, which took over his hay business with his boys, Dan and Ding. And then Uncle D, and then Uncle Howard had Ed and his grandsons that took over his job, his hay hauling business. So they kept the business rolling. We kept it going around as long as hay was around until they come up with the big bales and the big square bales. But the last two that hauled hay, that ran the hay business for our Grandpa, was me and Andre. And that was a good time. It was a lot of struggles, and you know, we were young, and we were in the mood to where we got things done quick and in a hurry. But we learned a lot from that. We learned how to be men, and we learned how to work. We learned how to appreciate the money that we made. It wasn't a lot of money, but you made it. You earned it. You earned it. It wasn't given to you. So that's what we got from our Grandpa and them. And Grandpa Sherman evidently sent it on down the line by teaching his kids to work. So we're just thankful that I grew up in a family like that. That where we learned to do things, that we were taught things. You know, we wasn't handed anything. You know, if you wanted it, you earned it. And, you know, it was just a good time. And I was just glad that my family got to be a part of this community and give something back. So it's just, we have to come together and do that. That's all. You know, it just has to be a togetherness thing. You know, and with that, With that, I will now call our next speaker up, which is going to talk about his dad's business. Erik May is going to talk about Uncle Wilbert's business.
How y'all doing? I'm Erik May. I'm a son of Wilbert Dixie May. All right, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about his businesses. First business that he had was May Trucking LLC. He drove for Packerware, and that was established in 2002 to 2010. We closed that due to the fact this was around the time my mom was diagnosed with cancer the first time. During that time, in 2006, we also bought the old place called Sims and started a barbecue restaurant. So we owned that until 2008, 2009. We closed that due to illness as well. So shortly after that, in 2012, my dad and my Uncle Floyd started a business called May Brothers LLC. And they did everything under the sun pretty much, and they also had dump trucks. Yeah. that was closed 2021. Say it was established in 2012, closed 2021 due to illness, and that's about it. Yeah. No, Kay was saying earlier about how Grandpa used to work for $10 a week. My dad used to always say a joke. He said, yeah, your grandpa would work for $10 a week, then have to spend $7 of it on your Uncle Ronnie. So, yeah, so that was just always something that made me laugh. And every time I hear somebody talk about that, it's something I think about. So, yeah, appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming out.
All right, now we'll get down to the meat and potatoes of things. We'll call Miss LaVell Rucker to talk about the grocery stores.
Hello, everybody. And so, first of all, it's just really a pleasure to be able to come and speak about Mike and Evelyn Green, the operators of the Green Jay Grocery Store. And before I get started, I want to give the Plattsburg Historical Society and the Juneteenth Committee a huge thank you for honoring the history of African Americans and for giving me the opportunity to speak about it. It does my heart good, and I know my mom and dad would both be very happy to see a lot of their friends out here in the audience, and I've had a chance to speak to a few of them, and they brought some memories back about Mom and how well she was a good storyteller. So I just hope I do her this much honor today in sharing a little bit about Green Jay Grocery Store. So the Green Jay Grocery Store got its name from my parents' last name, Green, of course, and then the J was from a partnership with my sister, Shirley and Carl Johnson. They took the J from their last name, and it was called Green Jay Grocery Store. They bought the store in around 1971 or 1972 from a single owner who was an African-American lady, and her name was Miss Stella Allen. And at the time she had bought the store, or the time Mom and them bought the store, Shirley and Carl resided in Southern California, where Carl was enlisted in the Marine Corps. So as I previously mentioned, prior to the Green and Johnson's ownership, the store belonged to the older lady named Stella Allen. The community store at that time was called Allen's Grocers. Miss Allen employed my three sisters, Shirley, Lois, and Ethel. Shirley is at home. She lives here now in Plattsburg. She's retired here. But Ethel and Lois are here in the audience. And while they were attending school from 4 to 7 p.m., their duties for Miss Allen was stocking the shelves with canned goods, candy, and waiting on the customers. Miss Stella lived in this 4-room building with the store on the front east corner, and she used the west room as her living quarters, and there was a combined living room with her bedroom. So she lived in their TV and everything. If she had a television, I'm not sure she had one. She was pretty private and didn't let too many people back in that back area. But that was her living room, her bedroom, and then there was a kitchen with the bathroom. And then a small front and back porch, which ran the width of the small building. Miss Allen would wait on customers while Shirley and Ethel cooked her dinner, having the table set and dinner ready by 5 p.m. They also helped to wait on customers. The after-dinner chores for them was to clean the dishes, sweep the floor, and walk the outside yard and pick up trash left by customers and those that passed by. This would consist of going all the way down to the corner to the stop sign. So some of you may remember this area and some may not, but it was Railroad and 7th Street right across from the playground there. So they had this job all through high school, working 15 hours a week for just $8. So that doesn't happen much in these days at all. Some of the small community grocery store well-remembered favorite foods were stick bologna. It might make some of you go, but back in the day, and I even heard when I was talking to a friend, Miss Kinslow, who told me don't mention her name. So now she'll probably strangle me. But she said that reminded me that it was some of the best bologna around. And we'd have to agree. But it was so for those that don't know, it was probably in about a 5 or 10 pound stick like that long. And it was sliced off manually with a knife by her, very sharp knives back in the day. And so it made good sandwiches using the Rainbow brand bread sold at the store. So that was another company that I think is out of business now. And they were located in St. Joseph, and they would travel down here and would stock her bread and chips and things like that. Another memory was the small cowbell, which was tied to the store by a shoelace, alerting Mrs. Stella that customers had entered in. She would come out from her 2-room attached apartment, calling to the customer in her high-pitched tone voice, shuffling her feet, usually in house shoes, "I'm coming." She was always ready to serve. Some stories later told by mischievous ones was that they would open the door slowly, grab the bell, and hold it while they entered in and helped themselves to some candy, and then quietly left without paying for it. Don't raise your hand if you're one of those that's in the crowd. But anyway, Allen's grocery store was perfectly located on Railroad Street in the heart of the black community. It provided an easy walk to get things when some didn't have transportation to drive to Hales or Soper's Market, which were a good stretch of the leg away. J.L. Smith, who was Donald Grayson's father-in-law, some of you may remember him, he worked over at D-Tone, would often yell across the street to ask me to walk to the store and pick him up some things after a long day of working with Cotton Harris. He would give me the change, or a quarter, for going to the store for him. Lots of other customers would walk to the store for their food and groceries too. After Mrs. Allen's health denied her the ability to operate the store, she closed it and moved next door to her mother, Miss Nora Shade's home, and lived there until her death. This is an awesome, awesome occasion, and I really appreciate being asked to come and to speak about our grocery store that Mom and Dad had started.
Hello everybody, I'm Joe Harris, resident here at Plattsburg, Missouri, and I'm also the owner, operator, trainer, bookkeeper, consultant of Joe's Fitness here in Plattsburg, Missouri. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would just like to share a dream that I had concerning this when I was a young kid. I always wanted to have a career to where that I had to wear a different sweatsuit every day. I knew that I was going to be some kind of fitness trainer or something like that. And basically, the dream that I had when I was like 11 years old came true. It all started basically back in probably 30 so years or so ago. We had an opening to where that the old depot building down on the park down here, and it was owned basically by Mr. Don Talley, and he had a boxing ring set up in one end of it, and there was also a large front to it. And I asked him, could I possibly during the summertime have like a little exercise weight room in there and stuff? He said, sure. So what I did was basically I had some weights in there, a couple of weight benches and bars and stuff like that. And I was about 14 years old at the time. And during the summertime, I would open it up during the summertime about 3 days a week. And I'd have a lot of my buddies and stuff like that coming in. And they would, basically, I would design some workouts with them and for them. And we did that for one whole summer. And that kind of gave me a start at being that young, basically, of knowing that someday I'm going to have my own gym. I'm going to have my own physical fitness facility. Well, I kept that dream alive, basically. Back in around 1983, during that time, I was a workout fanatic, I would say. I was a member of what is called KC Fitness in North Kansas City, Missouri, and would train there a lot after work. As a matter of fact, I was also an employee for the General Mills plant in Kansas City. Well, after I would go to work, I would always still hit the fitness center and gym and stuff, and would always make sure that I did my workouts before I got home. And so as time went, I ended up meeting a fitness guru, basically, that was half manager, basically, that was in the facility in Kansas City. A gentleman by the name of Mike Patton. And he was also a professional line bodybuilder, a two-time Mr. Missouri champion, with a whole lot of head knowledge in the fitness world and nutrition world too. So basically what I did was I was underneath his direction as one of his clients to where that I learned a lot of the aspects of exercise and bodybuilding and everything and stuff for a total of about 3 years. Well, as time went still, I was still had my interest in one day owning my own facility. So what I done was I went ahead and got a degree into being a personal trainer. And that was in the early 90s. And basically by doing that was I had to get some education from out of a degree into fitness, general nutrition, physiology and exercise science, kinesiology, and psychology into the Career Institute Development Center out of Atlanta, Georgia, which they sent me all my materials, and I did all my studying and sent all my materials in, my work materials and in everything and stuff for about 2 years to where that I obtained my personal trainer certification. So as all this was still being put into place and I was still working once again as an employee for General Mills, I had the opportunity to open up what is called an on-site fitness gym facility at General Mills, which we went through that for 6 months, and they opened up their fitness facility, basically, and which is still going today, that I had basically put together a plan for the company and the employees. Well, my confidence was really rising up to where that I was really wanting to basically pursue the avenue of owning my own. So I had the opportunity to basically work with my trainer, Mr. Mike Patton, which owns his own facility in Kansas City, Missouri. And I was also thinking about resigning from General Mills after 20 years of employment. So he told me that basically, Joe, if you resign, you can come and work for me in Kansas City at my facility. Well, I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it toyed with it for about 3 or 4 months, and then I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and resign from General Mills, but I'm not going to pursue still driving back and forth to Kansas City to do what I love to do. So I said, well, I want to do it at home. I want to open up something in Plattsburg. Well, a buddy of mine, we talk about this sometimes. Everybody knows a gentleman by Dr. Hobbs. I knew that Dr. Hobbs had some extra room in his dental building, and that was just sitting abandoned. So I stopped by one day after work. He called me in his office. I sat down with him and I was explaining I have an idea. Well, before I could even get finished, he said, stop right there, I'm going to show you something. He took me back to the end of his building, and he had a 26 by 26 room empty that used to be part of the where they had all the medicines and stuff like that, into one of those rooms. And he asked me, he said, you think you can do something with that? I said, yeah, I think I could. So after that, I went in there and I cleaned it all out and everything and stuff. And I had some equipment of my own, treadmill, bikes, some weights, benches, stuff like that. So I put all those pieces of equipment in that room, and then by word of mouth, I was telling everybody that I have trying to start a fitness center here in Plattsburg. You can come and enter this room from the west side of the building. There will be a sign on the door, and basically I opened it up. It was sometime during the summer months of around June or so of 98, yes, of 98. And people, what I would do is when I got home from General Mills, I would come home, rest for an hour, and then open that little gym up from 5 in the evening till 9 o'clock at night. Well, it just started growing. Interest started coming, it started growing. People would come to it, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So I did that for 6 months. So I said to myself, well, I had 5 weeks vacation built up in General Mills, and you can take it starting at the 1st of January. So what I did was I took all 5 weeks off, and then I turned around and opened up the little facility all day long just to see what it would do. Well, the numbers kept coming. People kept coming. And so after that, for 6 months, I had to make a decision to where that all my vacation was gone. Do I want to go back to work, or do I want to make this thing a permanent in Plattsburg, Missouri? Well, I decided this was where my heart was, and I know that I want to open up this opportunity for the residents of Plattsburg, Missouri. So I decided to resign from General Mills after 20 years of employment and open this thing up for good. So I ended up making that decision, doing that, and as it still growed and grew more, basically I outgrew the space. So Mr. Hobbs, Dr. Hobbs had more room in the back side of his building. He had approximately about a couple thousand square foot that we went in there and tore up all the walls and stuff and everything and got it refurbished to where that I opened up a larger facility in the same building. And basically the new Joe's Fitness was officially opened in July the 1st of '99, officially. So basically, and it grew in numbers and grew in numbers still. So I ended up being in that building for around 15 years. Well, still yet, I was needing more room. Dr. Hobbs was telling me that he's going to be retiring, and so that gave me the inclination that I needed to probably find another place. Well, eventually I did, under his idea, which I didn't know that this place was open for that, but now I moved the facility once again up here at 900 Y Highway in the old frame factory, basically. And I've been in here now for around 8 years, and it still has grown. I have clientele basically from every which direction. I've got clientele from as far west as St. Joe, Missouri, as far east as Polo, Missouri, as far south as Overland Park, Kansas, and as far north as Cameron, that has supported this fitness center. And so basically my dream that I always wanted to do, it came alive. And ladies and gentlemen, basically what I've done, I am set up to where that I'm in the healthcare umbrella here for what fitness and wellness teaches. It is more than, it's not only just a gym, but it is a wellness center. And so basically, I'm very, very excited. I'm very, very motivated. I'm very happy once again that my dream came alive. And once again, I am the owner and trainer here at my facility, or Joe's Fitness here in Plattsburg. And I want to make my key of it is basically just try to teach and get people healthier through this philosophy of the exercise and the nutrition, that everything that's being taught here in Joe's Fitness. So basically that kind of sums it up in a short way, basically. And I hope that that whoever's listening, whatever, that come and see me, come and see the facility, come and be a part of the facility. I'm here 5 days a week. I open up at 5:30 in the morning, and we run till 7 in the evening, Monday through Friday. And around, usually in the late fall, throughout the winters, I'll open up a half day on Saturdays. And basically we go from there. One thing I would like to share with you is that in the 23 years that I have been open, I have sold over 2,100 memberships in the last 23 years. So basically I look at that as 23 years of opportunity of 2,100 different people being able to hear my philosophy of being healthy and doing it. So once again, that's all I have, and I hope to see you, come to see me. Once again, my dream has been fulfilled. Joe's Fitness, Plattsburg, Missouri. Let's do it.
Down by the riverside, I'm gonna lay down my burden. Down by the riverside, ain't gonna study war no more. I'm gonna lay down my sporting field. Down by the riverside, oh yeah, down by the riverside. Down by the riverside, I'm gonna lay down my sporting shield. Down by the riverside, ain't gonna study war no more. Well, I ain't gonna study war no more. No, I ain't gonna study war no more. ain't gonna study war no more. Yeah. Down by the riverside, I'm gonna put on my long white robe. Down by the riverside, oh yeah, down by the riverside. And down by the riverside, I'm gonna put on my long white robe. Down by the riverside, I ain't gonna study war no more. I'm gonna put on that starry crown. Down by the riverside, yes Lord, down by the riverside. Down by the riverside, I'm gonna put on that starry crown. Down by the riverside, I ain't gonna study war no more. You see, I ain't gonna study war no more, y'all. I ain't gonna study the war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more, Lord. It's down by the river, down by that river, down by the riverside. Thank you all for coming out today.